Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we're honored to have with us Meaghan Thomas. She's a broadcast meteorologist. She's the author of Heart of Hearing, and she's the founder of the nonprofit, The Heart of Hearing. And so, Meaghan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hanging in there. We've gotten through Thanksgiving. Now we've got to get into Christmas, and it's just keeps on rolling.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Well, amazing in terms of what you're doing, using your story and your purpose and passion to help others and inspire them, not only through your book, but your nonprofit. We'll talk all about that. But this does start with you and your personal story. Give us a little bit of your storyline, especially growing up and finding out that hearing loss is a big part of your life.
I mean, it's something like, growing up, hearing loss was something that I was just accustomed to because my dad is hard of hearing and he has always worn hearing aids. So when I started feeling like I was hard of hearing, I truly just was like, oh, this is how life goes. I just thought that this is what happens as you get older, you lose your hearing, just like my dad has done. But that is definitely not the case. That's not for everyone. And, growing up, I started reading lips and I was realizing like I was missing all these sounds. I couldn't hear certain frequencies. And so, being able to eventually get a pair of hearing aids and now have had multiple pairs of hearing aids, your life changes. And the way that I was able to get my very first full set, I had one for a while, and then a first full set was taken care of through a vocational rehab program. And it really, I think that moment set the trajectory of like what I wanted to do and be able to give back in that way as well.
Because a piece of that is realizing how expensive that they are. And so when you talk about the technology and opening the access for others, I know that was a kind of a light bulb moment where it's like, wait a second, I need to be able to help others who are going through a similar circumstance, but to overcome the challenges of the financial barriers that go in with this.
So when I first went and got my ears tested, it was, I was 23, 24, and I couldn't even afford that. They just were making my piece for my ear for television. And so he offered just to come and test my ears for free. So I said, okay. And the audiologist did that and then was like, you need hearing aids. And my response was truly like, okay, but I can't afford them. I don't know what you guys want me to do. I know I've needed them for a really long time, but I can't afford them. You're just starting out in your career. You're just getting your feet on the ground. You're trying to buy dinner, and what people don't know is that they are not covered under insurance whatsoever, So whether it's the appointment, the fitting, the actual aid itself, none of it. And it's all out of pocket. And so because my parents had been paying for my dad's for so long, they just couldn't afford mine. So I actually ended up going through a vocational rehab program and they were going to pay for half of it. And so I, got to the building. I took a credit card out, just enough to pay for half of it. And, it's so sad when I think about it now. I took a credit card out. I was willing to go into debt for something that I needed, not something I wanted, something that I just needed for my day-to-day life to get by. And when I got there and went to go pay, the audiologist and her assistant, they put me in this room and they said, listen, we've done some talking to some people. We're just going to take care of all of it. And I think that's really when my life totally changed. I remember just crying in the chair, going to my car and crying and calling my dad because he understands how expensive these are. It was still going to be $2,500. I was still going to spend that much money on a pair of hearing aids. And so with the nonprofit that I created, we take care of all of those financial needs for the ages of 20 to 45-year-olds.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful piece, which goes back to the personal storyline, obviously. The other one is breaking down the stigma that will kind of lead us to the book as well. And so for you being a young broadcaster, when you talk, working in meteorology and being in the public eye, What was that like for you in terms of, obviously with your father, you've grown up around it, but really kind of becoming comfortable in your own skin, wearing them, and now even obviously putting it out publicly with everything you do. What was that like in the initial stages versus the confidence and where you are right now?
So many people didn't know I wore them. I didn't tell anybody. It was, I mean, you can't see them with my hair down. You would never know until I would say, "Hey, I can't hear you very well. Can you speak up, or can you rephrase that? And can I look at your face so I can read your lips?" And so nobody really knew. They just knew that I couldn't hear very well. And my close friends obviously knew that I had hearing aids. And it wasn't until, April of 2021, I had just moved to Nashville, probably 10 months prior to that, was wearing my hearing aids, but I didn't really tell anybody. And one of my good friends, we were anchoring the news together, Erica, and she just looked at me and she's like, "Let's take some pictures." And so she said something about, take a picture with your hearing aids. And I was like, well, that's weird. I don't really talk about them. And, it's something that I've never been really proud of. And she's like, just do it. And we posted it on Instagram and Facebook. And I mean, it went viral. I woke up to hundreds and thousands, and I'm not exaggerating, like thousands of messages the next morning, whether it was my Instagram, my email, my Facebook page. It was overwhelming. And I think that me posting that and seeing those messages helped me become a bit more comfortable talking about it and a bit more comfortable wearing them, because to be honest, I didn't like feeling like I'm 90 years old. And that's the stigma that we have to break down. The hearing loss affects everyone, from the youngest of the young to the oldest of the old. And I fall somewhere in the middle. And I think that is so important to pass along, that just because you may be 22 years old and you have hearing loss, that's okay. It's okay, and get it fixed, because if you don't get it fixed, the more problems you may have later on in life.
And I like the fact that you equate it to wearing glasses. It's like, we've normalized wearing glasses to be able to see and function. And so it's very much the same thing. And so let's go ahead and dive into the book and obviously the nonprofit. And so let's start with the book. Give us kind of the background on the book. And I think there's some really cool storylines, obviously, that play out with the book.
Yeah. So when I posted the picture on Facebook and Instagram, it got picked up from a couple different national networks, and Good Morning America reached out to me, and I was just talking to the ladies there, and they were like, "This is great. We love that you've talked about your hearing aids." And I kept being like, "Why is this a big deal? I don't get it." And she was like, "There's not many people in the public eye who come out and say that they have hearing aids, or they wear cochlear implants, or they read lips, or they're actually deaf. There isn't really much talk about that kind of culture. And those cultures are all very different." And, I told them, I said, "I've had an idea of creating a nonprofit. I've had an idea of creating a book. I've actually written the book. I just don't know where to go from having it written in my notes on my phone." And they said, "You just got to figure it out and do it. Ride the wave and do it." And I said, "All right." So I went home that day and I actually found a publisher. I got on Facebook, joined a Facebook group for illustrators, found an illustrator from Lisbon, Portugal, whose work I loved. I Zoomed with them to make sure, it was all going to be a business transaction. And I couldn't be more appreciative of them. Sean and Miriam Blesano, they took my vision and just ran with it. They did an amazing, amazing job. And the book itself is meant for the younger child. So I'd say, as small can be, and then probably up to about middle school, that you kind of, you don't, it's not going to be for you. But the bottom line is it's a bunch of farm animals making a bunch of noises, and we can hear it all because we wear our aids. And I think that the last message of it is that, we wear our aids to hear everything that a normal hearing person can hear. But I think it also teaches hearing children that we wear our aids so we can hear everything. And we are the same. We just have a device that helps us hear just like them. You wear glasses to be able to see just like somebody else. And I think it's crazy that the insurance companies think that hearing aids are considered a luxury or cosmetic. And, that's a whole nother conversation that we can have.
Well, even going back to your point about listening and hearing the blinker, like when you talk about wearing glasses to drive safely,
Yeah.
there is a true safety element in terms of quality of life and hearing. Yes. But I mean, when you talk about safety and public safety and all those, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities to navigate the policy around that for sure, which goes into the nonprofit side. So let's talk about the nonprofit even deeper, because you mentioned obviously the financial side of making sure that people are taken care of. Talk about the other elements of the nonprofit.
So our goal is to never turn anyone away when it comes to the young professional. Our focus, our age group is 20 to 45, and we only require that you have a job. You are making some sort of living. I don't care if you make $100 or if you make 100,000, because when I tell you, I made great money when I first got out of college, but I couldn't save money. I couldn't save $5,000. I was still trying to pay student loans, pay off my car, pay rent. And by then you've got a couple $100 left and you say, well, I would like to eat this week, So I feel like I don't care how much money you make. I just want you to have a job and be able to show me that you have a passion about something. And you have to write a whole, application process. And that is something that my board goes over. We all decide. And I think that with the nonprofit itself, we want to be able to raise as much money as we possibly can in order to never have to turn someone away. Right now, we are, 30 miles outside of Nashville, a 30-mile radius, because that's all we can really do right now. I don't have the audiologists spread across the country. I'm sure one day that would be my absolute dream. I don't really know of any national nonprofits that focus on hearing aids. And I think that that would be an amazing thing to be able to do. We just aren't there yet. Ask me in the next 10 years, maybe, and we'll be having a whole different conversation. But I think that is the goal. I want to be able to take everybody in and be able to bless them the way that I was blessed.
Well, and you can speak it into existence, right? I mean, just like you're saying, so we can make it happen for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about timing, because you mentioned obviously the radius, but how does it work? Is it an ongoing opportunity where people can go and apply? Is it something where there's kind of a time frame involved? Talk about timing and how it works.
So it's going to be an ongoing thing. So we've got, I'm actually going next week to present somebody for the very first recipient ever. Can't tell because they're being surprised. And then another person has applied, and unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of applications. I don't know if it's because we are such a smaller entity and not many people may know how to go about it. But it is on our website, theheartofhearing.org, and it's just under application. And if your viewers or listeners, want to get involved, send me an email. I would love to take on more board members. We want to be able to reach as many people as possible. So the more people we have, the word of mouth goes a little bit farther. But there is really no time frame at this point. Maybe when we get a little bit more overwhelmed with applications, we'll cut it off in October, present them in December, and it'll be something sort of like that. But for right now, I'm all about a rolling application.
Nice. Well, and to your point, just raising awareness, that opens the floodgates. And so talk about how the community can help, because obviously raising awareness is one piece of that. You mentioned board members and, kind of the volunteer side on that end, financial contributions. So talk about the ways we can help.
So over the course of this past year, we did about 4 different fundraising events, and we're going to be doing something almost identical as we head into the new year. We've got an event at the end of January. We're finalizing the details on that, and then we'll do one as we lead into spring and then summer, and then the golf tournament will be the end of September, October again. And we had a blast this year. So if you didn't participate in the golf tournament, you missed out on a great time. It was amazing. We had so many wonderful people come through and donate, and it was just the best time. But if someone is interested, just go to theheartofhearing.org. The email's on the bottom of the website. You can send me an email. I can get you in touch with myself, someone else who can kind of point you in the right direction on where to go and what to help out with. And honestly, we are so blessed because Signia, who makes my hearing aids, they are creating a partnership with the Heart of Hearing and Signia. So they are our official hearing aid sponsor, which we are so thankful for. And that's going to continue to be that we'll be able to reach more people that way as well.
Yeah, very, very exciting. And to your point, we'll have to have you continue to come on as this evolves and grows and expands and impacts so many more lives. So once again, the website is theheartofhearing.org, theheartofhearing.org. And the book is Heart of Hearing. And so, Meagan, thank you for all you do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me again.